Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel Dhyani Classes. If you are watching my video for the first time, do subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever new video will be uploaded. So in today's video, we will cover the second part of the chapter, Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom, written by Nelson Mandela from class 10th CBSE. So let's get started. So in the first part of the chapter, we have seen Nelson Mandela pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote himself to the well-being of the republic and its people, and became first black president of South Africa after many years of struggles, and said people of this country will not suffer anymore from lack of supplies, human rights, and especially the oppression of one by another, and said God bless Africa. And after his speech, South African jets and helicopters were forming eye-catching shapes over the Union buildings, and then South African jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue and gold, and these colors symbolizes the new South African flag. So let's begin with the second part of the chapter now. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sikelel' iAfrika and black singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. So on this day of 10th May was symbolized, that means he remembers the day because they played two national anthems of the country, and one of the white, that was Nkosi Sikelel' iAfrika, and one of the black was sung, that is Die Stem, that means call in English. So symbolize means represent or donate. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. So here he is saying that on that day both groups, that means blacks and whites, were in the group, and even no one knew the wordings of national anthems and did not know the meaning because they once despised, that means they hate each other, and says they would soon know the words by heart, that means later on they got to know the meanings and wordings of the national anthems and memorized wordings of the national anthems by heart. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. So here he is saying that on the day of inauguration, that means the opening ceremony of taking oath as a first black president, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. That means he remembered all his efforts, hardships and sacrifices he had done along with the people who died during the fight for the rights and freedom. So during his speech, he overcame with emotions and became sad. So overwhelmed means having a strong emotional effect on the face. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth. So here he is saying that in the first decade of the 20th century, that means in the first 10 years of the 20th century, a new year after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, that means even before his birth, white people had already started torturing and threatening black people and started behaving in a cruel and violent way like an animal, and says the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. So here white people created a system of law where black people started suffering from poverty and injustice, and then white-skinned people started dominating black people in South Africa in their own land and treating them very bad and depriving them even the basic fundamental rights and leaving them in a state of suffering and sacrifices on their own land. So patched up means to remain with disagreement and problems, and erected a system means created a new system. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known. So here Nelson Mandela is saying that this system created by white people was one of the most inhumane. That means this system was the harshest, brutal and cruel that the world has ever seen in history. Now in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man. So here he is saying that this most inhuman system was created in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man. That means when Nelson Mandela was 80 years old, he has done something for the country, and what was that? That system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the color of their skin. That means when he was 80 years old, he was able to change this cruel and inhumane system and laws forever and replace or revoke it by a government that is going to treat everyone with respect and allow people to celebrate their fundamental rights in the country regardless of the color of their skin. That means no matter what their color, caste and skin are, everybody will be treated respectfully equally. So regardless means despite and anyway, and overturned means reverse or revoke. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. So here Nelson Mandela is saying that that day when he took oath as the first black president of South Africa, it was only possible after many years of unimaginable, that means impossible to imagine, efforts and sacrifices of the black people in South Africa who died during the fighting for the black people, and some of them sent to the jail and killed without any reason, and says people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. That means those suffering and courage, that means bravery and determination shown by these freedom fighters can never be counted or repaid. So counted means total in numbers and unimaginable means unbelievable or unspeakable. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. So here he is saying that before him there were many women and men who fought for freedom, and on that day, even on my other days, he felt that he was the result of many sacrifices of countless South African patriots, that means African nationalists or freedom fighters who fought throughout their life and God died for their country. So on that day, he felt that we are celebrating this victory today just because of the sacrifices of African patriots, and he was the result who were there before him. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. So here he is saying that long noble line, that means patriots or nationalists who were fighting and sacrificing their life for the country day in and out, one after another in line in order to set black people free from injustice, and that day came to an end with freedom, and now Africans are free to live their life as per their wish. And now this line began again with me. That means now he has become the president of the country, and now he has responsibilities to sustain the freedom of the country that he had got after many sacrifices. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. So here Nelson Mandela was feeling very sad and sorry for the sacrifices of freedom fighters, and even he was not able to thank them personally, and they are not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. That means they are not able to see the results after many years of their sacrifices. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. So here he is talking about the apartheid policy. That means white people form a policy or a rule that discriminate people based on their color, class or a category such as blacks and whites, and says this apartheid created deep wound in my country and my people. That means this policy created deep injury on black people and his country, and this system of discrimination was long lasting, and finally they were able to break this long lasting policy after many sacrifices. Further he says all of us will spend many years if not generations recovering from that profound hurt. So here he is saying that it will not be easy to forget sacrifices and feeling the pain of the wounds given by the white people to black people of South Africa, and says sacrifices that they had gone through will be remembered not for many years but many generations to come, because white people created deep wound and it will take a long time to overcome from this profound hurt. That means deep and strong hurt that they were suffering, and it will take long time to be forgotten. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect. So here he is talking about apartheid policy of oppression and brutality that had killed many people and put their life in danger, and many people were sent to the jail and killed, and also it created deep wounds in my people and my country, but it had also produced another effect. and says that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisselers, the Chief Luthelis, the Yusuf Dados, the Bram Fischer, the Robert Sobequist of our time. That means it had produced so many great people such as Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisselers, the Chief Luthelis, the Yusuf Dados, the Bram Fischer, and the Robert Sequist, and says, men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. So he is calling these people men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity. And these extraordinary men fought against the white people and especially against the apartheid policy with great enthusiasm, using their political knowledge, and raised their voice against the brutal system of white people. And says such extraordinary people with extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity can never be known again. That means such extraordinary people never be found again. So unintended effect means unplanned, and generosity refers to goodness or the quality of being kind towards someone or something. Perhaps it required such depths of operation to create such heights of character. So here Nelson Mandela is saying that this apartheid policy of oppression and deep brutality have created such courageous extraordinary people who bear the pain of prolonged cruelty, abuse, maltreatment, or ill treatment of this apartheid policy, and it was directed by the white people. So it produced very daring and brave people who fought against the white people, and now we are celebrating the victory of their hard work and sacrifices. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. So here he is saying that his country is rich in minerals and gems. That means he is talking about the great freedom fighters who fought for the country and its people against the white people who are living beneath its soil. That means under its soil, and its great strength lies in its people, and says, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. So as per Nelson Mandela, the greatest wealth of any nation is its people, and considering the people of the country are more costly and pure more than the purest diamonds. So finer and truer means extremely beautiful in high purity more than the purest diamonds. Further he says, it is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. So here he is talking about these comrades, that means freedom fighters who were with him while fighting against the white supremacy, such as Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisselers, the Chief Luthelis, and Yusuf Dados, and Bram Fischer, and Robus Sobokovus. So these people were along with him, and while struggling along with them, he understood what is the real meaning of the courage. That means he got to know if he want to do something for the country, he has to bear the pain of sacrifices and hard suffering. So comrade means companion, colleague, or fellow member of an organization. Time and again I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. So during his fight along with comrades, he has seen many men and women were putting their life in danger and losing their life for the sake of this great idea of releasing the country free from white people or for freedom. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. So here he says that he has seen many times men stand up against the attack and torture. That means he saw men were bearing pain and never give up and showing a strength. That means without saying anything or not fighting back to the white people, they were stand up to attacks and torture. And he has also seen these men had so much resilience. That means they were ready to bear the pain of every hardship, suffering without showing any emotions on their faces. And seeing this, Nelson Mandela got surprised and felt this great strength to bear all this pain was beyond of his imagination. So whatever pain men and women were bearing at that time was unthinkable and unpredictable, and even nobody can't imagine the way the white people were torturing them in a cruel way. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear but the triumph over it. So here he was also thinking that how these men and women bearing the pain of such a brutal attack, and then he got to know that this is because they are very courageous people. And then a beautiful thought came into his mind that courage is not when you are not afraid or scared, But courage is when you are able to beat or kill your own fear and ready to deal with it with full confidence. That means when you win your fear and face your challenges with full dedication and confidence. This is the real definition of courage. So triumph means a great victory or achievement and says, the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So he is also saying that a man who overcomes his fear and is ready to accept the challenges and doesn't matter it will be painful or not. So this man can be called a brave man. So to conquer means to beat or defeat of something or someone. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. So here he is giving his own opinion that no one is born by hating another person on this earth just because of his color of the skin is dark or because his poor family background and or low category, maybe because of his her or religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. So here he is saying that people must learn to hate. That means as per his own views on society, that society teaches people how to hate one another, and then people started hating each other, even their own people. And if a man is able to learn how to hate, then in the same way, a man can also be taught how to love one another. So Nelson Mandela believes that if people can be taught to hate each other, in the same way, they can also be taught to love each other. Even in the grimmest time in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits. So here he is saying that in the grimmest time in prison, that means when he was behind the bar, he was feeling very sad and it was very difficult time for him when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits. That means Nelson Mandela and his freedom fighter colleague were behind the bar and they were suffering a lot and criticized and exploited by the white people out of limit, and that time all freedom fighters were suffering most, and says, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second. So here he is saying that when he was in jail, he saw one of the security guards and he saw him a glimmer of humanity. That means he was looking little kind and sympathetic, and he was able to see the slightest expression on his face how we were suffering from the pain, and says, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. So it was enough for him to see the humanity in one of the guards, and then Nelson Mandela understood that there is hope behind the pain, and then he assured himself to keep going on and decided to continue the fight for the country and its people. Further he says, man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So here he is saying that man's goodness is a flame. That means the quality of being helpful and kind can be hidden for some times, for some reason, but goodness is a kind of flame that cannot be extinguished. That means it cannot be removed permanently. So when he saw a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, he believes that humanity or goodness cannot be removed. In life, every man has twin obligations. So here he is saying that every man on this earth living his life with twins obligations. That means two duties, responsibility or kind of commitment to fulfill it throughout his life. And what are the major obligations in man's life? That is obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. So these are the two obligations. One is towards his family, which consists of his parents, wife and children, and the second one is towards his society, community and his nation where he lives and celebrates the tenure of his life. So this is the end of the second part of the chapter, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. So let's look at the third part of the chapter in my next video. For more informative videos, do subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever new video will be uploaded. So thank you so much for watching once again. Stay safe, stay healthy.